There we go. Okay, I could hear myself a bit too well, and ain't nobody needs to hear me that much. Oh, that's weird luck. Stinks that practice got pushed back, but nice that you're able to be here. Um, Pumped. I think I'll just wait like another minute or two um, to start things. My question ultimately for y'all that are here though is, first of all, can you hear me? And if you can, hit yes. Oh my gosh, happy to hear it. That's amazing. Oh, good, you can hear me. You could probably also hear my turtle's tank in the background, and sorry for that. I tell him to be quiet, and he is just the noisiest. So my question to you guys who are here so far is basically I can run this one of two ways. We can either listen to the whole EP like straight through. It's only about 17 minutes long. It's less than 20 minutes. Or and then like I can do explanations of everything afterwards, or we can listen to like one track at a time and then I can explain it after every single track. I figure the benefits for the latter of those options is that I could, you'll still have the songs and the sounds like fresh in your mind, so you'll know a bit more of what I'm talking about, like pedal wise and stuff like that. Um, and ultimately, that might be a bit easier to remember things. But if you just want to hear it all the way through, the intended listening experience and all that stuff, um, I'm more than happy to do it that way. So, does anybody have like a preference? Feel free to have one. Talking in between songs. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking would be nice, just because then the sounds are a bit fresher. And then you can always, if you like what you hear, you can always listen to it again tomorrow, and then you'll have the context for them, with a fresh listen and fresh ears. Um, okay, yeah, that works for me. Let me just check Instagram to see if there's anybody who was like, "Oh my God, I wanted to be there and I'm missing it" or whatever, just in case. I posted a very flattering picture of myself. I vote each song, but I've heard. Well, yeah, you have also. You have heard them already. Um, but okay, yeah, we'll do one song at a time, and then I will sort of give you the background for what you're hearing and how I made them and all that kind of stuff. So while the songs are playing, I'll turn off my mic so you can't hear me at all. Um, and am I like loud enough and everything? I know last time I was a bit too quiet, and I'm using a different system this time. Clap once for loud enough and clap twice for not loud enough. A plus. I like A plus. Okay, cool. I'll take an A plus. That's always good. All right. Then I guess without further ado, one answer is good enough for me. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my mic, and then we are gonna get into the first song. So, like I said, we will do. Hopefully, the stream itself stays steady and all that kind of stuff, and you can hear everything. So what we'll do is we'll listen to each song. You'll see the title on the screen and everything, and then I will tell you about what you hear. And if you have any questions, like during the song, if you type it in like while you're hearing it, I'll definitely address them afterwards as best I can. And otherwise, I'll just give you sort of an overview of where the ideas came from. Just before we start, I figure I'll explain. So basically, this EP pretty much mostly came together in 1 week. I took a vacation a couple weeks ago, and I had one of the songs already completely finished, actually, and I didn't add anything to it, and that was Clairvoyant Monica. I released that probably like 2 months ago. And I told myself, you know what, I'm going to take this vacation, and I'm just going to work on this EP, and I'm going to get the rest of it done. I just want to do all of it as much as I can. So this artwork that you're looking at right now actually was created way before I even planned on making the EP. It's okay. My partner was walking behind me. There's no video right now, so you're good. Uh, but anyway, so I made the artwork actually kind of a long time ago. I sort of work, I think, somewhat backwards than what a lot of people do when they're making music and sounds and things, where I had the song titles before I wrote the music, and I had the artwork before I even came up with the song titles. I'm sort of very much inspired by visuals. I'm inspired by experiences, all that kind of stuff. Oh, hey, thanks, Kate. You rock too. Um, so, yeah, I guess I do this somewhat backwards, but I guess everybody has a different process, so it doesn't really make a difference. I really like to think of it as making a score in a way. So, yeah, if you ever have any movies or paintings or stuff that you want music for, hit me up, and I will happily do that. So before I keep yammering, I'm gonna let you guys hear the songs. Um, so here comes the first song, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay. Hopefully you all can hear me again. It seems like you should be able to. Um, so that song was called For Opson. So what you are looking at right now is a picture of who this Opson person thing is. So it's actually the apartment that I lived in before the one I live in now. So the last place I lived, great apartment, and across the street, we lived across the street from some train tracks, and we lived across the street from this like old sort of manufacturing plant that had turned into apartment buildings, but there was still this giant smokestack that was there that you're looking at, and this is actually like almost a view from my window. I didn't even take this picture. um, and it just had that giant word up on top that just said Opson. And I don't know what it is, but like over my time living there, like I would work on the third floor of the building, and that's where I would make music, and that's where Pedal Friends started. That's where I was most creative, and so I would always look out the window kind of and like see Opson, and like I don't know, Opson just sort of took on this otherworldly meaning to me in a weird way. I've recorded a bunch of different songs that I wanted to have Opson be a part of in some way. There was one that was just like this 13-minute drone piece that I wrote when it was like snowing one time. But I think this one sort of captures Opson a little bit more. Way at the end of the track, there's sort of those little synth blasts that are just the bah, and it's just like sort of like a beacon. And that's sort of how I view it. So in total, this one only has 7 tracks. This is actually the most tracks I have on any of these songs. The drums, I saw you were asking about the drums. So they were just the PO12. There's actually no effects on the drums at all. There's a little bit of compression from GarageBand, but otherwise, there's literally nothing on the drums on this song. So this is the only song where I have drums and I didn't do anything to them. I really like putting effects on drums. If you know my videos at all, or you know me, you know that I like doing that. So yeah, that weird explosion, like Velcro-y cracking sound, is an explosion button that's on the PO12, and you can sort of control like the decay of it and then the tonality of it, which is really cool. So I actually, when I'm like making beats, I tend to overuse it just because I think it's such a really neat little textural thing that really manages to sit behind the drums but be completely distinct. And I think it sort of filled in a gap for that slower part in this song. Um, so the synths on this one, most of the synths that you're hearing are the microKORG. So I own 3 synthesizers or keyboards, whatever you want to call them. I own a Korg microKORG. I own a Casiotone MT36, which is the other one that I used on this song, and then I also own a Casiotone 401, which we'll talk about later. Um, so the microKORG is doing a lot of that legwork of filling space in the mix, and these are actually just most of the stuff I use the microKORG for is just the presets on the microKORG itself. While there are a ton of like super cheesy like techno beats and stuff like that on the microKORG, there's also a lot of really sort of hidden great textural sounds in there, especially like when you turn off the arpeggiators. Even for those techno ones, if you turn off the arpeggiator, a lot of them have like automated LFO sweeps and stuff like that that can really fill out a track. So this one uses that, and then it also uses the Casiotone MT36, which I note below at the bottom. This actually, the MT36, I really like it. It's a really simple little keyboard. I'm obsessed with Casiotones. They're like my thing. Almost not more than guitar pedals, but they're a big thing for me. I love getting them and I love having them. And so this one has this like vibraphone mode, and it has like a little bit of a decay on the notes that ends up working really well with reverb and with overdrive pedals because it's almost like the attack of a guitar that just doesn't have a ton of sustain, which like my Mustang doesn't have that much sustain. So it kind of reminds me of that. In that when I hit it into reverb and then into overdrive pedals, you almost can't tell that it's not a guitar in certain contexts. And I've played with that in some of my demos. But yeah, it's just a really great textural sound, and I've wrote that line during this She Shreds one riff a day challenge that I'm doing right now on my Instagram and that I've posted on here. And I wrote this line for that, and I was like, wow, I really want to double that with the Casio tone, and I think it came out really nicely. That pine box, actually, Ian has it right now, collector emitter. And it's a cool one. It has this really lo-fi quality to the breakup when you bring the bass all the way down. It just sort of like crackles, and I really love that. The other big like pedal thing that I did here is that I added to the main board that I used to make this album, this EP, is I added a Dan Electro corned beef, which is supposedly a reverb pedal, but really it's just a short slapback. And it just has this sort of quality. So that lead guitar line, the dun, 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 that is like driven by that corned beef pedal. It's the sort of thing that just like immediately gives you a vibe and a feeling, and I really, really like it. Um, and overall, the whole idea behind this track really was I just wanted to capture sort of, I don't know, I feel like I have this almost stupidly playful relationship with this tower that was outside of my old house, and so I sort of wanted to capture, just this sort of feeling, this swirling feeling, this opening up feeling, where Obson really was the thing that was sort of driving me through this album, even if I don't live right next to it anymore. So I hope that kind of came through. I just sort of I want it to feel like a beginning. This is the opening track, obviously, and it's sort of grounding. My goal was to make this the song that makes you ready for what you're going to go to next. But also stand up on its own. I really love that lead guitar line. It's like one of my favorite things. Did you guys have any other questions about this song in particular? Or did you want to move on to the next one? I'm happy to answer any questions about any of the songs or any of the sounds or any of the stuff at all. I can see that it's loading. Okay, since there's no questions, I'm gonna move on. Brian, oh, it's Jack. Hey, Jack. Oh my gosh, I miss you, buddy. Yeah, so I'm gonna go into the second track now. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm gonna get it set up, so you might hear it for a second, and then it'll cut back out. So just hold tight with me for a second. Okay. Whoa, that's probably too loud. Let me let me make sure I'm not killing y'all with sound. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that was Clairvoyant Monica. So yeah, as far as inspirations go, Jack, um, as far as like visual and like where this song came from, so in the neighborhood over from me, there is this little shop called Clairvoyant Monica, and that's what you're looking at in that picture. Um, it's sort of I get it's a place where you can go and like have your palms read and that kind of thing, and like I don't have any necessary interest in doing that, but I don't know what it was, but the way that those words sort of played together just really like sparked something in me. I actually think the first time I saw it was when we were hanging out, Jack, so there you go. But regardless, yeah, it's just a name that I saw and it just stuck out. As far as the sound wise for this one, like what are my inspirations? That lead guitar line, I don't know if I accidentally stole it from like a Bon Iver song, but it really feels like I did, at least to me. Um, and it's one of my favorite guitar lines I've ever written for anything, honestly. So I would say it's kind of a lot of my influences are just like the same things. I listen to a lot of the War on Drugs. I listen to a lot of Yola Tango, and then otherwise I listen to honestly a lot of like pedal demos and a lot of like pedal demo people music. Like I listen to a lot of stuff that people on Instagram make, a lot of Bandcamp stuff, and this kind of feels like that. I know that when I started recording this was a little bit ago. Like I said, this is the first like single I put out from this EP. I was listening to Qualia a lot. I'm gonna put that in the chat just in case anyone hasn't seen that or like been on my Instagram. I talk about Qualia a lot on my story. Um, but yeah, so I really just wanted to make something that sort of had that sort of mystique around it that the name Clairvoyant Monica kind of implies. So as it says, this one's only 6 tracks. It's really pretty simple. The drums are actually the built-in drums from my Casio Tone 401, which to me, I can't believe how good they sound. They give the PO12 a run for their money, except that they're not programmable. Um, so you'll notice that it says like on the drums themselves, there's a decent amount of stuff. I did mix in 25% about on the blend knob for the EHX Pitchfork with an octave down, just to give them a bit more heft. That then went into the Noise Therapy Insomnia. I put in the wrong order in the thing. That went into the Noise Therapy Insomnia, which is like possibly one of my favorite overdrive pedals I've ever played. Jesse, I don't think you're here, but Jesse's the best, and Noise Therapy is awesome, and I'm really excited to bring you guys a demo of that and of some of their other stuff and continue to work with them. Um, but overall, yeah, and then it also goes into that Ghost Echo, so that's sort of where you get that little tiny slap back. The Ghost Echo obviously is a reverb pedal, and it's belt and brick, so it does have a little bit of a slap back, and with guitar, you can kind of get rid of that, but I actually really like how exaggerated it becomes with drums, with the high percussive hits, because it sort of claps back at you, but still keeps that crisp kind of sound that you guys were mentioning. Um, so this one has 4 guitar tracks. On the drums, I forgot to say. Yeah, so on the drums, I actually recorded the drums and the bass line on the same track, like going out at the same time. So all of the effects that are applied to the drums are also applied to the bass line throughout the song. And normally I would want to separate those two things, but it was just really much easier for me to be able to record the fills. There's like a little fill button on the 401. And it just worked really well. Yeah, right. I don't know what it is. Belt and brick works really well with drums. But overall, yeah. So it was kind of interesting that I was able to get such a what I think is like a really satisfying bass and drum sound at the same time on the same track with the same effects applied. And it really just shows like the supreme versatility of the 401 and of Casio tones in general, I think. All of the other synth sounds and keyboard sounds that you hear are just the Casio tone. So whether it's the higher sounds that you hear come in at the end, then you do have the guitar. So throughout this whole EP, I did not record any guitars out loud. Everything on this EP was recorded silently, direct, using headphones. All of my guitars are run through a Digitech cab driver. All of my demos on this channel are run through a Digitech cab driver. And I see people talking about like good headphone solutions all the time. And like if you have a mixer or if you have an interface, like get a Digitech cab driver because it sounds so good. And like if you like how these guitars sound, the cab driver is what did it. I will say also this one is really important. I really want to give a shout out to Ian from Collector Emitter. He's the one who mastered this album for me. This is the first album I've ever had mastered in my life. And his mastering brings out so much in this track in particular. If you want to go on my Bandcamp, I have the single that I posted, which didn't have any mastering on it. And then, this will be up tomorrow, and you can compare and just see how crisp everything, how much more crisp Ian was able to make everything. So, like, forever in your debt, Ian. You're the greatest. And I will eventually give you back the Grazer, but you're going to have to pry it from my cold, dead hands because I love it. But back to this song, pretty much everything on this one also has the Terra Echo. So the Terra Echo is no longer on my board, actually, despite the fact that I love it. But it is like the ultimate texture, pre-dirt texture, ambience machine. I absolutely love it in that setting in particular. I think it's a really cool pedal. I think it can do a lot more than people give it credit for. And I think in general, like people should give it a bit more attention. But yeah, so most of the guitars on this one also are running through that Noise Therapy Insomnia, which is just such a great drive pedal, and I'm excited for you guys to see more about that in the future. If anyone has any other questions, I'll wait like a minute or two, and then we'll go on to the next song. Clairvoyant Monica is easily my favorite of the songs on the album. I like them all, but this one means a lot to me. Is that my finger in the picture? Oh, yeah, thanks, Tom. No, that is not my finger in the picture. I pulled this picture off the internet. So that's some other person's finger. Good question, Tom. Oh, God. To actually bring this back to things, I don't know that I'll be posting pedal settings anywhere, mostly because I don't remember them anymore. For pretty much every single one, I sort of set everything, when I was recording. I will say that a lot of the guitar tracks, except on Clairvoyant Monica, a lot of the guitar tracks on the other three songs were my Source Audio LA Lady, and I have a parallel clon setting, so it's just two clones on top of each other, with the treble up a little bit and the gain pushed pretty hard. So that's a lot of it. And then Ghost Echo pretty much usually stays with everything at about 75%, and that's on almost everything as well. Otherwise, I honestly don't remember all of the settings, so I can't post them, unfortunately. Sorry. I was like taking pictures of everything, and then I realized like, oh, I'm gonna have like 70 pictures, and that's gonna be too much. So, yeah. All right, then I am going to. I'm also more than happy, like, if in the future later, like, if you want to like tell me like, hey, I really like this particular sound on this particular track, you can always like PM me on Reddit or like shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and like I'll be happy to try to figure out what I had exactly going on every single track, and I can like isolate tracks and send them to you if you want. Okay, I've been talking for a while, so we should probably go back to listening to music. So I'm going to go ahead and switch off my mic and go into the next song, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This one is a really fun one, and I'll write a little bit about like inspirations and stuff in the comments. Okay, so you heard the drone come in at the end there, and that's the drone that leads into the final song, but we're gonna save that for the final song. Um, so this song, this is called Carousel Carouse. I will address the drums. Basically, I'll tell you about the drums first. So the drums, it's just the PO12, and then what I did to make it sort of like that glitchy, like polyrhythmic kind of stuff is it's like a similar drum beat to the first one, but I used a lot of like the stutter effects. And if you use the stutter effects and the feedback effects built into the pocket operator, you can sort of force it to like modulate itself in a weird way, like, and make the tempo seem kind of loose, but it still fits. So what the PO12 is being driven into is it's going into the Champion Lecky Evil Twin, which is this really insane like dual drive boost pedal that Champion Lecky, which is made by a guy named Wooly here in Philadelphia, makes. And it has like an oscillator in it, so you can basically make it oscillate and change the pitch and stuff. I've used it in a couple of my videos at this point. If you look at the drone video, actually, that's the best example. But for here, it's just set to sort of make the drums break. The sort of weird like scritchy sound that you're hearing is the Digitech Turbo Flange in the trigger down mode with like a ton of regen. So basically, I didn't know that it was going to happen. I didn't mean to set it to the trigger down mode. I just meant to use the flanger because I love flange on drums. Tom Tom Club uses a lot of flange on drums, specifically in Genius of Love. There's like this one like cool secondary drum part that sounds like it has a ton of flanger on it, and this is sort of, me trying to do that. But in that trigger mode, it sort of just captures the hits, and being driven by the Evil Twin, it captures them in an even weirder way, where it sort of forces those, and it sort of makes its own little melody. Actually, the Evil Twin is really good as well with the PO12 when you have the oscillating on and the oscillator on, because it sort of makes its own bass lines as it tries to keep up with the pitch of the drums. It's really cool. And I'm definitely going to work on stuff with that in the future. But regardless, this is mostly the hyper flange or turbo flange doing the work, a lot of the legwork. So overall, this song is 6 total tracks. One of them is the drums with the effects on it. This song is called Carousel Carouse. So if you see in that picture, down near where Tom, actually, who's in the stream, near where he lives, there's this little place. And I noticed this sign probably like a month or two ago, and obviously it's supposed to say Carousel Carousel, but in true Philadelphia fashion, the L is left off of the second carousel, and so it just says Carousel Carouse. And I don't know, that something about that word just kind of like I don't know, it sounded fun, and this song felt like Carousel Carouse. I actually almost named this song something different, and I'm saving that name for a different song, but I'm really happy I went with Carousel Carouse because it feels like it fits. The drone that you hear throughout the song is actually from guitar, and what it is it's actually just me sort of like moving the strings around with my finger into the pitchfork. So the pitchfork is really the main part of this song. This whole song is written with a 50% blend of a fourth up on everything, pretty much, except the drums. And so that sort of drone, that weird high-pitched drone that comes in, is just that into a ton of echo. This one has the Terra Echo on it still. The Terra Echo was on my board when I recorded this, and then I took it off afterwards. But yeah, it sort of just makes this really cool texture, and I just really liked that really high-pitched whine that it added to the background of everything else. The other thing that I added, and this is one of the pedals that wasn't part of the main board that I ended up adding last minute almost, was the grazer, which Ian is lending me, and I'm really excited to do a demo of it. I doubled all of the lead lines with the grazer, so you hear those sort of blips and bloops going on around it. I think that I'm always interested in making guitars sound as three-dimensional as I possibly can, and I think the grazer does that in a way that you're not expecting, where you're getting random semi-random slices at different pitches and that sort of thing. And it makes this more three-dimensional sound simply because there's more sound to work with in a different sort of rhythmic way. So it worked really well in this context, and I really, really liked it. And I really like that pedal, but I unfortunately will have to give it back eventually, though I don't really want to. And then synthesizer on this one, there's only one track, and it's just the microKORG being awesome. And yeah, the drums are obviously the big part of this one that I'm really proud of. And I really think that this song, like I said, this song was the one where I was just like, I'm going to use pedals and I'm going to make a song. And like, I think I pretty much did that. So, do you guys have any other questions? About this one? It's kind of like the weirdest song on the whole EP, I think. It sort of sticks out to me. But I really like the way it sticks out. I will also say I was worried about calling it Carousel Carouse for fear of it reminding people, just by name alone, of the Blink-182 song Carousel, which is, whatever. I don't want my music necessarily to remind you of Blink-182. I probably shouldn't have even mentioned that, but here we are. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the last song. So this is the longest song. It's only about 5, maybe 6 minutes. This one might end up sounding a lot louder in headphones and stuff, so just be prepared for that. And like I said, I'm gonna start it and then turn it off and then start it again just to make sure that everything's running shipshape. So yeah. Okay. So that's Paper Mill Flowers. Um, I don't have a picture um, of what Paper Mill Flowers is referring to because I don't feel comfortable taking pictures of people that aren't consenting to me taking their picture. So Paper Mill Flowers is referring to um, on my commute home. I hit this one intersection, and on my commute to work, but on home specifically, I hit this intersection, and pretty much every single day there's this guy at the intersection, like standing in the intersection, and he's selling like bouquets of roses, hence the picture. And he's just kind of standing there and like holding them out for people to buy them. And I don't know why, but there's just something like really intensely beautiful about that to me. Um, and so what I really wanted to capture in this song is I just wanted to capture like how like I don't know, there's something really really deeply good about that in to me in my eyes. At the same time, like he's also the type of person, from what I can tell, like if it's raining, like he's still out there selling roses. Like, and there have been a couple days where like he isn't there, and there's like someone else selling the roses, and I'm always like, oh my god, what happened to the flower guy? And then he's like back the next day. But you know, it's this person, and like I'm probably making this all up and like chalking it up to what it shouldn't be necessarily, but like it's this person who's selling such a like beautiful thing and such a thing that can really like make someone's day, and really change someone's day, even in the worst of weather. So the whole idea for this song was sort of to capture that. I wanted it to sound kind of dark. I wanted it to sound kind of foreboding. I wanted it to sound, doomy. But it all is all like major. I don't usually write stuff that's not major because I don't know. That's just how I write. Um, so yeah, the hugeness of this song, uh, it was huge when I mixed it myself, but Ian very seriously did something. I don't know what he did to just make it sound even huger. And I can never thank him enough for that. So if you need stuff mastered, talk to him. But so yeah, so this is only 5 tracks. There are no drums on this one. I could not find a place in this mix to fit the PO12, so I didn't even try. Um, there are only 2 guitar tracks here. So the 2 guitar tracks are the main one that you hear from the beginning throughout, and that is just my Mustang tuned to baritone tuning using the pitchfork, so a fifth down, and that is going into the Insomnia and the LA Lady, just full bore, I think, on both of them, just to really blow stuff up. And then the secondary guitar is actually, as it says there, it's the Ghost Echo into the DoD 250. I love the DoD 250. I don't have it on my board right now, and I didn't have it on my board then, but it just did the trick, and that gain is all the way up. So it's just a massive, huge, humongous sound. Um, the synths that I used here are actually the microKORG, which I use for the string sounds, and then that's actually the 401, again, the Casio tone, that's doing another sort of like doubling part, and it just sort of it's doubling the guitar. For whatever reason, it just fit. It just filled out everything. It just added something to the guitars. You can almost barely hear it, even in headphones. Even if you listen really closely, you can barely hear the 401. But it did something that just made the guitars sound even thicker, and I love that. I will always be one for doubling guitars with Casio tones in particular, but synths in general. It just sounds really great. Yeah, so that's kind of that whole song, and that's the end of the EP. So if you listen to it all the way through, you know, without me talking in between every song, they sort of all they fade into each other. The third and the fourth song, so Carousel Cruise fades into Paper Mill Flowers, and it works in my brain. It works really well, and it goes from this very cheery thing to sort of like, I don't know. All I can think of is like the gray drives home that I have from work sometimes where it's raining, but then I see this guy selling these flowers and like it just makes me really happy. He's apparently been there for a very, very long time. There are reviews online that you can find, and it's just like that flower guy. But it's not like a company, it's just that flower guy, and it's people being like, yeah, like, and I saw the one review was from 2008. And they're like, yeah, he's here all the time just selling flowers, and he's like really, really nice. Like the flowers look kind of dead sometimes, but like he's really nice, so like whatever. And I really love that, and it's just sort of like I don't know what I like to see in the world, and it's those things again that um, you can drive by them every single day and never notice them, but if you do, there is something amazing in that. Um, I don't know. That's like really sentimental of me to say, but whatever. I'm a very sentimental type of guy. Um, so that's my EP. Um, so these are all the pedals that I used on the guitars, mainly, with those few exceptions like the corned beef, the 250, and the grazer. But pretty much this was the board that did it for most of the tracks. The multi-stomp was, I actually didn't use the multi-stomp quite half as much as I usually do on stuff. I love that pedal to death and I will never get rid of it, but for whatever reason, I was trying to keep things a bit cleaner a lot of the time, and I used the multi-stomp in such a way that it's a really big effect a lot of the time. I will say that if I did have, my biggest thing is running reverb into distortion of any kind. It's my favorite sound in the world of instruments. And the multi-stomp into the LA Lady is like the ultimate versatile machine for making different, weird, crazy dirt sounds. And I love it that way. Um, yeah, and then otherwise the pitchfork is like my best friend. It's probably my most used pedal actually, just going on and off, just because I use it so often to do so many things, and it's just the coolest way to manipulate your guitar. Um, so if you guys ever have any questions about pedals and anything I use, always ask. I think I had one other slide set up here. What is this? Oh, that's just the album artwork. Yeah, so and then the artwork, really the big thing that I wanted to push with this whole thing is I just wanted to push texture. I'm really big on texture in music. I'm really big on music having a feeling. That's how I describe like my favorite albums are ones that have a good feeling, and I don't know what that means. I can't put it into words, and it sounds really pretentious, but it's just how things work. The reason Yo La Tengo is my favorite band is because they make albums that have the most feeling to me, the most feeling that I can perceive, and so I really am hoping that with these 4 songs, you guys sort of get a feeling for the things the things that music do for me, and the things that sounds do for me, the things that pedals do for me. I say in the Bandcamp, like the about section on Bandcamp when this comes up tomorrow, um, I put how like this album is as much influenced by my commutes home from work as it is influenced by like reverb pedals and stuff. Like I did this stream on this channel not to get a bigger audience, but because um, it is so pedal related and it is so based in pedals. Um, so yeah, that's my EP. Do you guys have any like questions about anything? Hi, by the way. Um, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have remaining. Ultimately, for those of you that are here right now, I'm also happy to send you a Bandcamp link that will let you get the album now if you wanted to listen to it again, or if you wanted to show it to anybody, that would be cool. No pressure. But yeah, I'm think in the real world, I'm like a half a minute ahead of you, so I'll wait a second to see if there's any questions. Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that you were in here. Thank you. You're the greatest, and I'm really excited for what we've got coming up in the future with other things. But thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited for other people to hear it, and I hope everybody thinks the same way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, I will call it a night. It's been an hour, so thank you for giving me an hour of your time. It means the world to me that anybody would want to spend an hour listening to my music and me talk about it. I don't have words for how that makes me feel. It's amazing. Um, and yeah, all praise to Ian. Ian's the best. Ian is the greatest, and I love him forever and ever and ever. And you know, real life pedal friends, they're the best. Um, all right. I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Oh wait, really cool share. There's a really cool direction, buddy. Oh hey, thanks, Jack. You're a really cool direction, buddy. You're my fave, and thank you, Tom, as well. I so appreciate it. Thank you for listening to all the various incarnations. Tom is. I'm in a band with Tom called Rylan. We haven't put stuff out in a little bit, but that's okay. But Tom is sort of my go-to person for, hey, please, does this suck? And he said that none of this sucked, so that's why it's here today. So without him, this EP wouldn't exist. So thanks so much for listening again, my friend. And yeah. All right. Instead of sitting here awkwardly, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. I love all of you, and thank you for thanks for hanging out. Um, have a great rest of your night. Um, you know, thanks.